is September 9th, 2018. We are at the Moonlit Crane Zendo. Usually around this time of year, our grape plants sort of ripen or half ripen, and before we get a chance to harvest any grapes, a crew, a gang, a posse of pileated woodpeckers come and they eat all of them. And so this time of year, here at the Zendo, you can hear pileated, quite often you can hear pileated woodpeckers coming quite close and tapping on wood or arguing over some grapes. We enjoy watching them here. What does that have to do with Zen and Zen practice? Well, it is Zen. I always make sure to talk a little bit about what is happening here, because we have to be aware of our environment. We have to know how to appreciate our environment. It's a beautiful Zen practice to watch a woodpecker eating a grape, to have the time in the day to be able to do that. It's also, we had quite a bit of rain recently, and the grass that was very dry during the summer, it's now very, very green. It's very, very lush. I mowed the grass yesterday, so it's a beautiful carpet that you can walk on. This too is Zen. This is Zen practice. To have the time, to have the space, just to walk on green grass. This is also our practice. And this word Zendo, a Moonlit Crane Zendo, it literally means a place, a building in which one practices meditation. But the Zendo, it's not just a building. A Zendo is not made of wood and nails and plaster. I mean, that's part of it. But it's also the people who come. And the people who come and sit together and practice meditation. Zendo is the people. That's the more important part of the Zendo. It's the people who come and sit together. And it's not even just any kind of people, but it's also the clarity that they bring with them. The clarity and peace, and also any delusion too, that we try to see through. So it's all the qualities of the people coming to practice meditation. This is the Zendo. And then also there's the silence. The silence is the Zendo. And this silence is something that hasn't changed in thousands and thousands of years. Maybe the voices have changed, the languages have changed, the particular cultural expressions may have changed. But this silence has stayed the same. And this too is the Zendo. So when we sit, you can sit in the same silence that Shakyamuni Buddha sat in. and that all the Zen masters have set in. And in this we can find a lot of peace. And most importantly, for everybody who practices Zen, is to understand and there is a Zendo is within you. It's not some place to go to or to come and to meditate. Zendo is something that is within you, and you have to find that within yourself. So then there is kind of an interesting question, who is the teacher that is sitting in that Zendo? The Zendo that is within you. The real, authentic place of meditation. What kind of teacher is sitting there and giving a Dharma talk? So that's something for you to look into. I ran across this expression. It's called the selfish gene. It's a kind of a theory, scientific theory. And I didn't really read up on it, and I'm not really sure what it refers to, but the image that it gives to my mind anyway is this idea that the very process of evolution has made us the way we are. And if certain things are advantageous from the perspective of continuity, evolutionary continuity, they will perpetuate themselves. So if we have some prejudices, if we have a lot of aggression, this is because at some point in time these things were advantageous from the perspective of evolution. There is nothing there that says that we should be happy, that we should particularly enjoy our lives, or that we should be happy, or that we should have any kind of understanding of life, of ourselves, of who we are. Those things are, it turns out, not really central from the perspective of evolution. What really matters, and it is just by the nature of the process, is the passing of the genes. So if aggressive people are more successful at doing that, we end up living in a world with a lot of aggression, even though that aggression may cause a lot of suffering. So in that sense, we are kind of collateral damage to this process. And looking from that perspective, we can see Buddhism as a kind of revolution or response to that, and saying, I had enough. I don't want to be collateral damage to our prejudices and aggression and greed. I want to see things clearly. It seems that we are genetically predisposed to certain kinds of delusions, that it is not advantageous from the perspective of evolution to see things clearly. So then this Zen practice becomes rather interesting, because there is no gene for Zen. You cannot pass it on to next generation genetically. So that what that means is that each generation of practitioners somehow has to rediscover the truth of this practice. And we have to communicate and learn again and again and again anew. We have to rediscover anew again. So that's rather interesting. How does Zen and Zen teachings perpetuate? So I come back to this idea of a Zendo and sitting together and sitting in silence. Rediscovering the very same silence, rediscovering the same truths again and again and again. So that's it's kind of interesting. And another thing that one can say is it takes a lot of effort to stand up to this, to the conditioning and to our predispositions for selfishness and for aggression and for prejudice. It really takes a tremendous effort to do that. Shakyamuni Buddha, he called it walking against the stream, walking upstream. And then, this is coming back to the very beginning of this talk. In addition to a lot of encouragement, we also need to know how to appreciate things. This makes sense. Then our practice makes sense. Just to appreciate the green grass and the breeze, and to know how to pacify our self-deceptions and how to take joy in this space and in coming together and meditating together. It's really incredibly a joyous thing to be doing. I hope sentient beings, I hope human beings will have the courage, will discover their own courage, will discover the Zendo within themselves, and will not shy away from looking at ourselves, taking a good square look and not shy away from that. And we'll have true courage, and then we can discover true happiness and true joy, and really being secure and being stable, discovering a kind of stable practice, stability in meditation, and that these lessons from the past, we can continue to enjoy them, and they'll continue for a long time in the future. The Zendos will live on. Alright, let us recite the 4 great vows now.